Hello everyone, welcome to this AWS and Linux Foundation course. We are discussing about the cloud computing basics. We have discussed about the on-premises versus cloud computing and the few terminologies in the cloud computing world, right? The data center, right? The shared responsibility model, right? So let's continue the session and we'll see a few more terminologies and we'll get into the AWS. Today the agenda is to talk about the AWS, get started with the AWS account and right talk about AWS Global Infrastructure and we'll create a simple server in AWS cloud platform, right? So well. So as we have seen yesterday, right, as part of this on-premises versus cloud computing model, we have seen the advantages in the cloud computing model, right? Especially where you are not required to worry about the data center maintenance, the infrastructure maintenance, right? And you just need to get a system to run your business. You get that system from your favorite cloud service provider and then you run your business applications there, correct? So now we have seen that when it comes to the service providers, right, it could be a Amazon, it could be a Microsoft, could be a Google, and there are a few other service providers also there which are offering the infrastructure services in a cloud model, right? And here in our scope we are discussing about AWS as the infrastructure provider by the Amazon as a service provider, right? Let's get into that. How to use the Amazon product AWS to create your required infrastructure resources that you can use to run your business is the goal, correct? Well, so let me browse through the browser, guys, right? In order to get started with your AWS, right, let me search for Amazon AWS, okay? So we can see that aws.amazon.com is the website that you need to use to start using your AWS cloud services. If you click on aws.amazon.com, this is how the portal will be opened, right? So first you need to create a account in this AWS website to get started with using the AWS services and the cloud infrastructure resources, right? In order to start creating a account in AWS portal, you can just click on sign into the console. There is an option here. So if you have the account already, then you can logging into the existing account. If you are new to the AWS, then you need to create a account by clicking on create a new AWS account, right? Once you click on create a new AWS account, this is how it is asking you the details to fill up your email ID and your account name that you like it and proceed further, guys. Here, I am not creating a AWS account because I'm already having a account, but creating a AWS account is fairly easy as like how you create any account in any other websites, right? So overall, you need to specify your email ID, account name, passwords, verify your phone numbers, and you need to do the payment authentication as well. If you go to the next step, it will even ask you the credit or debit card information to confirm that you are the right user and you are giving the valid payment authentication, guys, right? So if you are having any issues in creating a AWS account, you can always refer through the documentation, right? So as you know, we are all uploading the learning notes of this session to the Edwiki portal in the tutorial section, right? So there is AWS and Linux Foundation learning notes. Here you can see the cloud introduction session, right? So everyday session will be uploaded here. So you will get some more readings available in this portal to learn the concepts. So I'm going to upload the AWS account creation steps as well to the same here. But for now, I can refer through the AWS account creation steps from other tutorial series here, right? So here you can see the complete steps how to create a AWS account by providing your email ID and the account name, right? The password, then confirm your mobile number, right? And then you need to do the payment, guys. The billing information is just to ensure that you are the right user and you have a proper valid authentication. Usually at the time of creating a AWS account, at the time of you are giving this payment verification mode, AWS is going to charge INR 2 rupees, or I think $1 if it is in a different currency type, and that will be get credited back to you in 3 to 5 days. That means creating a AWS account is completely free, right? So you can use the debit or credit card, but sometimes the debit card will not be accepted. So you need to look at whether your card is in the supported type or not from this portal, guys. And also your card should have a international transaction services to be activated, so then it will work, right? But do not worry, you just create an account. AWS is not going to charge anything from you, as AWS is giving the 1 year free trial period. That is where we can utilize the services for free with certain limitations. With that, we are going to talk in soon, right? So then we can continue with the further options as recommended here. Then your account will be created. Then you logging into your AWS portal. Hope this is good, right? So once you have the AWS account, then you can logging into your AWS account by giving the root user is the choice and specify the email ID that you need to use. In my case, right, the trainings at edwiki.in is my email ID that I have used to register my AWS account, and that I'm supplying here at the time of logging into my AWS account. Let me supply my password, right? Once you log into the AWS, the default page that you see is called as a AWS console or AWS management console or AWS portal. All these terminologies refers the same, right? So we can see this is the AWS management console home, right? And the AWS is offering all the different services that will be providing you the infrastructure resources over the cloud model. Those services can be seen in the list here after you log in, right? The goal here is to make you familiarity about how to create a AWS accounts and logging into the account and be comfortable with all the options that you see in your AWS portal, right? In the services tab, there are different services are available categorized. You don't need to learn all these services that are listed, guys. These services are categorized for the business people, for developers, for system administrators, for DevOps engineers, right? For the management purpose. That means these services are actually categorized for different job responsibilities. So as per which job responsibility that you are handling, related to that, which service will be a suitable one, that is something that you need to be learning and expertise, guys. You don't need to learn all of these because this is a mix of multiple different job responsibilities, right? Well, here the scope is right, though the people are handling the different job responsibilities, there will be certain common skills that must be known to every engineer, right, when using AWS. We are going through the services that are very much common, mandatory, right, for every engineer. We are going to discuss those services. I will drive through those services one by one and with the detail how to use these services to get started with your computing resources over the cloud, right? So the very first service that I wanted to introduce out of this list is the compute category, guys, right? If you click on the compute category, in the compute category, again, there are multiple services are there. All these services are giving you the compute resources, but the different use cases that you can achieve using these services, right? Out of this, EC2 is the service name, which is the basic level that you need to understand in order to create the required systems or the computing resources in the cloud platform. The remaining are not that much needful at this time, but EC2 is the one which you need to be familiar with. So I'm going to talk about the EC2 service and how to use this service to create your required infrastructure resources, right? To get started with your journey of deploying a application to run your retail website kind of product. Well, so what is this EC2 first of all, and why I came to the AWS, right? If I go back to my previous discussion here, I talked about that to run your actual business application website, you need an infrastructure. That is where I am now using the AWS to get this kind of a infrastructure, guys, correct? What does it mean by infrastructure? You need a processor, memory, the storage to store your data, networking, which will be giving you the connectivity to your systems, and the remaining hardware resources that are needed to make your system up and running, right? That is what is mean by the infrastructure. That I am getting it from the service provider from your AWS, right? EC2, right? When you click on the EC2 service, whatever you see here, this is called as a EC2 dashboard. In the EC2 dashboard, the left side, whatever you see, this navigation, all these are EC2 resources in AWS. Service and resource are two terminologies that we need to understand. EC2 is the service name. In this service, you can see multiple resources in it. Okay, and we are going to talk about these services as needed one by one, right? For now, we can see there is a resource name called instances, right? The instance is a resource name that you can create in a EC2 service. The instance is mean that a system that you are looking for in your AWS cloud, guys. That's it. Instance is just a AWS terminology, but instance, system, computer all gives the same meaning only, right? So I just need a instance in order to run your business, right? That is what I came to here, and now I need to create one EC2 instance that I can use for my business use cases. Good. Well, so if you are creating a EC2 instance, right? First of all, let me go back to the slide and let's understand if you need a system to run your application and your business, what are the minimum resources that you would be required, guys? Can you think of this? That let's say I need a system to run my business application. What are the minimum resources that you would be required? I would say you need a volume or a hard drive with some capacity that is required to store your data, correct? Without a hard drive, your system cannot be run. So I need a hard drive with some capacity. I need a processor with some capacity. I need a RAM with some capacity. And you need a operating system that is installed on this system to give you a interface to start working on this system to configure your applications and run it for your business needs, correct? That means I would say the processor, RAM and hard drive are the minimum resources that must be there for any system that you are trying to configure along with a operating system, which is a interface software for you to start working with these hardware elements, correct? If this is a physical server which you are building on your own data center, you go to the market and you purchase a system by specifying the specification of these resources. Then you build your own system in your own data center, right? When it comes to the cloud, I don't need to worry about purchasing and building it in the corresponding racks in my data center, right? Because the AWS is responsible in managing the entire data centers, and they are there for you to provide a system with the required configuration that you like it. That's what is the advantage that I'm getting in the cloud model, correct? So now let me create one simple system with all these different resources. But before me going and creating a system with these resources, I would like to give you a one more terminology introduction, which is called as a server. What does it mean by a term called server, guys? Because you might be heard about a system, computer, right? But the server terminology is a little new for you guys. So typically any computer or a system which is the hardware interconnectivity of the processor, hard drive, RAM and any other devices, you are actually accessing the system by taking the help of the IO devices like a keyboard and mouse, and you connect a monitor to this and you start using this system for your specific use cases, right? This is what you know so far, which is typically called as a computer or a system. When the terminology changes to the server refers the same meaning. The server also having the processor, memory, hard drive, and any other required hardware devices are connected. The only difference in here, when it comes to the server terminology, the server is actually located in one single data center and that is being accessible by the users from the different remote places, right? Usually when the terminology comes to the computer, you are there in front of the computer and start using the system, right? But when it comes to the server terminology, though it is also a system, but that server is deployed it into any of the data center racks, and the user who is using the server is not in front of this. You are there somewhere in the remote location. You see now, the server may be in a Mumbai data center, but you are there in a different location and you can start accessing the system through the network, guys. If a system is located in one single location and which is serving the services to the users from the different remote locations, whereas it is allowing the users to access these services from the different remote locations, that model is called as a server, guys. Hope this is clear in understanding what is it mean by a server. Just to repeat, server is just a system, but it is located in one single data center space and which is available for you to use access over the network from the different remote locations or for different remote users case. That's the difference comes in. Obviously, when I'm using a system for my business needs, where I would like to use this system to run a retail kind of a website, I'm expecting all of my end clients wanted to access my website from the public internet space from different locations to purchase my products. Yes, definitely then I need a server that I can keep in one data center that is starting services to my users for the different remote location users, right? That is where I need one server to configure and run my business. As I said, this server, rather me purchasing myself, and I'm trying to take this server from the AWS people, as AWS is already maintaining the data centers on their own risk, and they are giving us these servers for us to configure our business applications, right? Is this good? Now, let's say I need a server because I wanted to, run a business, right? Now I'll go to the AWS. Hey, AWS, you are the service provider. You are already maintaining all the data centers. You just give me one server. I'll run my business. Correct? So when you go and ask the AWS, asking a server, of course, you can use this AWS management console, can take the help of this EC2 service to order a server that you like it. But can I use this statement? Whenever you ask the AWS to give you a server, the AWS has to create it in the corresponding data center where they are maintaining the data center and give you a server, right? So let's talk about the AWS Global Infrastructure, right? What is AWS Global Infrastructure, which is primarily regions and availability zones? We need to understand this terminology first before we actually order a server from AWS, guys. Right? So I'll take you guys to the AWS Global Infrastructure real time from their web portal. Right? So if I look for AWS Global Infrastructure, which is giving you more details about from their documentation, right? So here you can see a world map. This is explaining that the AWS is maintaining the data centers across the world to satisfy the cloud resources availability to different users from the geographical locations, guys. Right? So this world map saying that the AWS is maintaining a data center in different locations across the globe, right? You see the AWS has data center in Canada Central, Northern Virginia, maybe in Hyderabad, Mumbai, right? So we can see in Singapore too, like that. At the moment, as per this documentation, AWS is maintaining right across the world 31 launched regions. What does it mean by a region? Region is mean that the location where the AWS is maintaining the data centers. That means Hyderabad is the region, Mumbai is the region, Singapore is the region. So the geographical location where the AWS is maintaining the data center, that is called as a region. So far at this time, AWS has total 31 regions across the globe that they are running the AWS data centers. If then when you create a AWS account and start creating a server or asking them a server, then AWS has to create a server in any one of the data center that they have that they are maintaining in across all these regions, right? And you have a choice in the sense, hey, I wanted to run a business in a, let's say, in India. In India, I wanted to run a business in the sense all my customers who are purchasing the product from my website, those are actually right from Indian geographical location. Then when you are creating a server to run that website, that server you would like to get it from which region of data center is the question. Will you be liking to get that server from the Hyderabad region or Mumbai region or maybe a Canada Central region? Which one you prefer? Correct. because AWS has their own global infrastructure supporting for the different geographical location of customers, right? So when you are choosing a region, you need to consider few aspects to minimize the billing latency and other things. Let's talk about how do you choose a region. The very first thing to choose the region is the latency, guys. Let's say you are creating a server in the Canada Central region. Then in the Canada Central, whichever the data center that the AWS is maintaining, in that the server will be created for you that you are using to configure a website. Let's say all of your customers are actually from India to purchase a product from your website. Now the distance is more, right? Any website request should go from your client location to the server location where it is deployed. As the distance is more, latency is more, the performance will be degraded, the website will be loading very slowly, correct? So in one single word, the latency problems will be arised if the client and the server location is too far. Agree with me? So when you are creating a server in the AWS cloud, you need to consider you are getting the customers from which location and think of which region will be the suitable one, right? I would say if you're expecting all of your customers are from the India to use your website services, then it's better to use the region within your geographical client location so that the latency will be less, the performance will be good, and you get a lot of benefits too, right? That's one reason why how you need to choose the region. The second thing, definitely when you are ordering a server and AWS is creating a server on the selected region, you need to pay to the AWS, right? When you are taking a server, you need to pay to the server. Of course, you are not worrying about the entire data center maintenance, but at least to the server which you are getting in, you need to pay for that. AWS says, which is the product of a Amazon, right? The AWS says the billing will be differ from region to region. The server that you are getting it from the Mumbai region, billing will be differ to the server that you are getting it from the Canada or any other region, guys. Okay. Hence, which region will be more suitable based on your budget, based on your billing strategy, you need to choose the region. Some regions may be a highest paid, some regions may be a lowest paid as well, guys. So we need to look at the pricing model of each region and think of which region will be suitable for your specific business needs based on the pricing that you are looking for. Clear? The third reason how the third element that you need to consider when you are choosing the region is data regulatory requirement. Any website is actually showing some data, right? So can that data store in across anywhere in the globe or to be specific to the geographical location? I'll give you a, I'll give you a concrete example here. Let's say there is a government website which is showing you the country people information. You all know that the government websites are holding of the country people information, right? Like the identity numbers, PON numbers, SSN numbers, right? Maybe a Aadhaar card number, which is the personal identity of a person, right? All these details are actually stored in any one of the web portals, right? Do you think the Indian country people data, the personal data can be stored in the server? The server is located in the different country. Maybe that is not acceptable from the governance perspective, right? So anything that is related to the governance, the data should be located in the same country specific servers. That's the rule. which is called as a GDPR requirement, right? So if you are trying to keep the Indian people country information, it's better to take the servers from the Indian geographical locations only, so that your data is within the country, not going to outside of the country somewhere else, right? So these are the few details, few things that we need to consider when you are choosing the region, guys. Of course, certain times if you are using the retail website, you are not really worry about where the data has to be stored. It can be in same country or it can be outside as well. That is just a shopping related portal services, right? But when it comes to the governance, yes, there is a rule that the data should not be going outside of the country, which is more sensitive data that should not be, compromised and known by other country people, right? That kind of the things. Good. So by considering all these aspects, right, now we need to choose the region in which region you would like to create a server. If you go to the AWS management console, in the AWS right side, you can see the drop down of all the different regions that are currently supported. You can see the Singapore region, Mumbai region, right? The Northern Virginia region, so on, so on. In AWS, every region is identified with a code called region code. You can see the California region is identified as US West 1. Mumbai is identified as AP South 1. Like that, the region codes are given for every region. Going forward, rather me calling the Singapore Mumbai, it's better to call the region codes. That means, hey, go and create a server in US East 1, create a server in AP South 1. That is how we are going to use the region codes in addressing the region, not with the name of the region, guys. Hope it makes sense now, right? In which region you are expecting the servers to be created, then you go and choose that specific region from this list. Let's say I wanted to run a business where I'm expecting my customers are from the India, then I may be choosing the region as Mumbai, so that the servers that I'm going to create now will definitely be creating it from the data centers that are managing in the Mumbai region by your AWS. So I just need a one server, right, to run my business. What is the server? The server is just a system or a computer which is located in any one of the data center of AWS in your selected region, but that server is accessible to remote users through the network for giving you the services, right? That we have already discussed about the server. What is it mean by the server terminology here? Now, once you know that in which region you are expecting the server, then let's go and create one simple server in your AWS cloud. How are you creating a server? To create a server in your AWS account, you need to use a service called Amazon EC2, right? So you use the EC2 service and you create a server that you can use for your business. I'll tell you exactly when you are creating a server, what will happen. Wherever I'm giving this kind of a cloud logo, that means the AWS is managing all these infrastructure resources in the cloud model in their respective data center that you don't need to be worry about. Correct? Ideally, the AWS is maintaining the data centers and the racks and the servers in the racks like this. You see there are three servers that are kept into the data center with the attachment of the different drives that you see here. There are multiple drives that are attached to this device, and these hard drives are connected to this system. That is how the AWS is maintaining all this stuff. Again, these physical servers are actually virtualized it into the virtual servers as well, right? That means one single physical server can be act as a multiple servers. That is what is it mean by the virtual servers. For you don't need to worry about how AWS is doing the physical server virtualization to the virtual machines. One single physical machine is actually virtualized it into how many number of servers, how they are using these hard drives connectivity, that is completely taken care by the AWS in their data centers, right? All what you need is a server, right? Any one of the virtual server that is created in their AWS data center, that virtual server will be given you as a IP address. You as a client or a customer, you can access that virtual server using the public IP, using your internet space, and start accessing that server and pay to the AWS for you using this specific server. That's it. You see here, the client who wanted to utilize the services is actually accessing the specific virtual server that is created in the AWS cloud using the IP address base through the internet, and that's it. The question for you guys, anything within this cloud symbol, will you be responsible to manage them? No. AWS is there to manage all of these things, but I'm just giving more information how AWS will be maintaining these in their data centers with the virtualization layer. It could be the VMware or any other virtualization software to virtualize one single physical server to a multiple virtual servers, right? Each virtual server will act as like a separate, independent, dedicated system, and that virtual server is something which will be given to you. Start using that for your business needs. Well, if then, let me go and create one simple server now after having all this background information, right? So I will logging into the AWS management console, then choose the EC2 service to come to this page. Then in the EC2, click on Instances Resource tab. I have already selected the Mumbai region because I'm expecting my server to be created in the Mumbai data centers. All what you need to do is click on Launch Instance. What is instance? Instance is just a virtual server that is creating in the AWS cloud, right? We already now familiar what is it mean by the server. What are the minimum details that you need to specify to create a server, guys? When you click on launch a instance, you are getting this big form. You need to fill up this entire form to get a server created in your specific selected region, right? Ideally, if you go to the store to purchase a server, computer, system, all are same, guys. That I have already given the clarification. The server is just a terminology that is supporting to serve the services to the remote people, right? I would say the hard drive capacity, processor, memory, and the operating system that you would like to use. These are the four things that you need to specify to get a server capacity deployed, correct? Even when you try to purchase a system, the shopkeeper will ask the same question. Hey, tell me your configuration, how big system that you are looking for, right? Based on the different use cases that you have. So even here, when I'm looking for a server in the AWS, you need to specify the details by filling this form. What is my server name? Let's say I'm just creating one simple test server. The name of the server could be anything that you like it. I'm just giving it as a test. Then it is asking you, hey, tell me which operating system that you are looking for. Again, guys, at a day one, I will be quickly going through to create a server to understand how easy it is to create a EC2 instance. Later in tomorrow, when I'm going through this one more time to create a EC2 server, I will be driving through in detail how to choose all these options. For now, as I said, I need an operating system. You select the operating system from this list, which OS that you are looking for your instance. You can see Amazon Linux, Mac, Ubuntu, Windows, right? As of now, let's say I wanted to use Amazon Linux operating system in my server. Select it from the drop down, scroll down. Now it is asking you, hey, tell me which instance type that you are looking for. The instance type is mean that which is the combination of processor and the memory capacity that you are looking for your server. You can get the different instance type from this drop down. Each instance type has a name like T2.nano, T2.micro. Each instance type will tell you how much processor and how much memory that you would be getting if you select that instance type. And it will also tell you the pricing. If you take this instance type, what is the pricing will be applicable to this server that you need to pay. As of now, we don't need to worry. These are available as part of the free tier, so we don't need to pay anything. But in general, right, this is the pricing that will be applicable to these instance type that you are choosing in. You see here, the T2.nano is the one type which will be giving you one processor and like 512 MB memory. T2.micro is one which will be giving you one processor 1 GB. T2.small is like 2 GB. Correct, no? When you are purchasing a server also, you need to specify how much memory and the processor that you are looking for, right? Because you know that more capacity will give more performance. So which capacity that you are looking for to run your business, you need to go and choose the right instance type from this list, guys. For now, let me go with T2.micro, which will be giving me one processor and 1 GB memory for my EC2 instance. Go down. So here you can see the storage section. I said 4 items, right? One is the operating system selection, the CPU and the processor selection. Now the hard drive selection here. By default, it will be allotted 8 GB capacity of hard drive to store your operating system data and store any other data. If you want any additional, we can always change the capacity as you like it, guys. What is the capacity that you are looking for? That much size of the hard drive will be attaching to your EC2 instance. Hard drive is the general terminology. When it comes to the AWS, the terminology is volume. That means by default 8 GB volume will be associated to your instance, and you can change the capacity if you like to. But for now, let it be the default 8 GB size. I don't want to change the size because I'm not going to store any more data in my system at this time. Apart from these four, you need to add one more thing here, which is key pair. What is key pair? The key pair is required, which will be allowing you to logging into your server once the server is created, guys. You will know the use of the key pair once the server is launched, but for now, yes, the key pair is required. You can create a key pair by clicking on this create a new key pair option. Right, you will get a pop-up here to create a key pair. give the key pair name. Let's say CLF01. Any name would be fine, not a problem. Whatever the name that you like to give to your key pair, can give the name there, and select the key pair type, guys. There are two types are available. You can choose any type, not a problem. RSA is the recommended type. You choose the RSA and go further. In the next lectures, we are going through in detail about this key pair, what is this and how it is being created. At day one, let's go with the minimal information to avoid the complexity, right? So create a key pair of RSA type, and the private key file format, there are two types here. For now, go with .ppk. I will call about what is PEM, how it is being used in later, but for now, let me choose .ppk, which is compatible for PuTTY as per this description. Click on create a key pair. You should understand that, observe that when you create a key pair, there is one file downloaded to my local machine automatically. You see this? CLF-01.ppk. This key is downloaded to your machine, guys. This key file is required for you to logging into your server once the server is created. Done. Just come down and click on launch instances. That's it. When you click on launch instances, now I'm sending the request to the AWS. AWS will start creating a server with the capacity that you have chosen in the AWS data centers in the Mumbai region. Good. It is just a 30-second task to create a server on AWS cloud, right? Once the instance is created, the instance will be assigned with a number that is called as a instance ID. You click on that instance ID. Now you are navigated to the AWS console to see the list of EC2 instances. That's it. You see now, this is the server that I created with the server name, server ID. Of course, now onwards, rather me using the terminology called server, I can start using the terminology called instance. Both are same, guys. Instance is the AWS terminology. So I can see the instance ID. The instance is currently in the running state. That means the server is created in your Mumbai data centers. It's all ready for you to use for your business needs. Every server that is deployed in your AWS will be getting one default public IP address. This default public IP address is something that you need to access this server to run a business. What is my goal, guys? I wanted to run a website on this server, right? To run a website on this server, you need to logging into this server. You need a IP of the server. Take the IP from here to configure this as per your business needs. You see the flexibility of cloud. Without you purchasing the server, maintaining your own data center, now you got your server within 30 seconds of time. How the server is running, managing in the data center, let AWS handle this. Got me? Well, in order to logging into the server to use this as per your business need, you need to use another software called PuTTY. The PuTTY is required if you are using the Windows based systems, guys. If you are using the Mac or any other systems, the process will be little changes. For now, let's talk about the Windows process. You go to putty.org website and click on download the PuTTY software. Here you can choose the PuTTY software based on the operating system version that you are using. I'm sure nowadays all the systems are compatible with the 64-bit. So go and choose the right architecture and download your PuTTY software. Once the PuTTY software is downloaded, then you click on that PuTTY software, then that will be get opened. That you need to use to logging into your EC2 instance to configure for your business case. So cool. The day one, yes, definitely the things will be little difficult to understand as we need to understand this AWS architecture. The terminologies are very much new, but you will get through once we get into the next stages. You see, this is how the PuTTY will be there. All what you need to do is give the IP address of your EC2 instance. In the left side navigation, you go to SSH option, go to auth option, go to credential option, and here private key file for authentication, right? This is where you need to attach the key that was downloaded some time back. You see, the key that was downloaded some time back that I'm attaching here, and you just click on open. Accept this connection, maximize the screen. I can increase the font by right clicking on the header and going to change settings, appearance, change, bold, and choose the size of the font. The default username is EC2-user and you just click on enter. This is how you can logging into your Linux server. Now you can do your Linux related commands to configure this for your business needs case. The goal today is to understand what is AWS, how to create a simple EC2 server, and understanding the AWS Global Infrastructure, which is a region selection. You may be having a question here that, right, what is this EC2-user? How do I know the username that I need to use here to logging into this particular Linux system, right? So if I ask the AWS here, let's say AWS default usernames. AWS has the fixed default usernames for the Linux distribution case. You see this list. If you are taking Amazon Linux, then your username will be EC2-user. If you are taking a CentOS, then you can see these are the usernames like that. For every OS distribution that you are choosing, the corresponding default username that you need to use to access the system the first time to logging in and configure it. Remember, at the time of me logging in from PuTTY, I was attaching the key, right? That is the key that would be required, right, to logging into your system. The key is like a security, or else everyone else can logging into my system, right? Got me? Let's say if you guys know what is this IP address, then if you also can try to logging into this EC2 server from your side from the PuTTY, right? I don't want to allow you to logging into my EC2 server for security reasons. That is where the key page that was created and downloaded is required, so that whichever is having that key, only that guy can logging into this server by attaching that key to the PuTTY during the login time. That's how the security is little increased to access your servers with the help of the key page that was attached, guys. Good. Well, I'm going a little slow because you need to habituate to this particular technology first, right? That's the reason. Now let me unblock few things. You may be wondering now, okay, there is a server created with some processor and the memory capacity. I logged in. Should I be paying for them? Right? So as I said, the AWS is actually offering you the free tier, right? If I go to the AWS free tier documentation, you see 12 months free. So here you can see that your EC2 instance is free as long as the server is running for 750 hours. And of course, there are certain terms and conditions that we need to remember. The terms and conditions says that the EC2 server that you are using of type T2 or T3.micro is free. If you are taking any other, then it is a billable. If you are using anything beyond their limitation, then that is billable. That will be, as a invoice generated at your month end. We need to pay for that. So while you are using, go through the free tier limitation, see what is free, what is not, and try to create a resources within this boundary, guys, to avoid the unnecessary billing. Don't worry. Going forward, I will be definitely calling out which is free, which is not free, how to choose the resources within the limit, all these different best practices. It's just a day one. I'm just giving some basics for now. Well, when you are learning AWS, the thing that you need to understand is the limitations. Let's say one server is created. When you are creating a one more server, again you click on launch instances. Again you fill a form, right? So you specify which OS that you are looking for, which instance type that you are looking for. When it comes to the key pair, the key pair was created again. Sorry, the key pair was already created, right? You don't need to create a key pair again. You see the key pairs that are in the drop down, which are already created some time back. You choose the key pair from the drop down list that is good enough. So one key pair, yes, I can use for multiple EC2 instances. Even at the time of logging into this second server, you use the same key pair that was downloaded some time back and attach that to logging in, not a problem. So it's up to you. You wanted to create a new key pair for new system, or you wanted to use the existing key pair for the multiple servers. It's up to your requirement. But from the capability wise, yes, we can use the same key pair for the multiple EC2 instances. One last thing, there are multiple dependencies, guys. All these dependencies cannot be covered in one single session. Those will definitely coming up in the upcoming lectures. But for now, I wanted to unblock you one thing. AWS will be charging or billing only for the running instances. So let's say I created a server today. The server is started in running state. As per AWS free tier limitation, only 750 hours running time is free per 1 month. That means if your running time is more than 750 hours, then whatever the extra hours for those, the AWS is going to charge. That's how it is. Hence the reason during the learning time, you create a server. Once you complete your lab practices, once you are familiar this, then you select server, go to instance state, and you terminate a instance. You see the option. Click on terminate and click on terminate. Terminate is mean that destroying the server. Your server will be completely removed from your region of data centers from your account also. So you are now safe, right? Because your server is not exceeding the 750 hours. You are terminating it whenever you don't want it. That is the other flexibility from AWS, like from cloud. The different states that you see here, stop, start, reboot. I'll talk about these in next lectures. Today I covered the terminate because if you start doing the lab practice today, right, I don't want you having this server running for longer times, right? That's the reason I'm covering only this terminate option for now. I'll talk about the different states of the EC2 instance and how to manage this EC2 instance in the upcoming lectures. Even creating a EC2 instance is not completed, guys. I'll go through this create EC2 instance multiple times in the upcoming lectures. Then I'll talk about all these different options, how to choose in an effective way. As of today, I just simply chosen the options just to show you how easy it is to create a server. There's a lot of discussion is required to choose all these options. We'll talk about all those in upcoming lectures. Are we good with this? Right? So that is the story for today, guys. And we talked about the AWS introduction and the global infrastructure, right? And the EC2 creation process in a minimal level. If any questions, do let me know, or else we are good for today and we'll regroup tomorrow. We'll discuss the EC2 continuation to talk about the remaining resources, guys. Thank you.